Well, good morning, guys. It is Friday. It is 9 a.m. and time for our coffee chat. Now, I'm going to kind of wait a little bit before we get started to see if anybody joins us live. I know many of you guys will be watching this recorded, but no matter what day or what time you're watching this, grab a cup of coffee and join us. Now, my coffee cup today, if you can see this, is happiness is a comforting friend. This is a new cup that I just got. Now, many of you guys know that I absolutely love Charlie Brown, and so a lot of stuff that I have has him on there. If you could see my background, which I've put the school background on here now, but I have quite a coffee cup collection. Many of those coffee cups deal with either my faith, or somebody gave them to me as a gift, or they have Charlie Brown on them. I love collecting Charlie Brown stuff. So, anyhow, welcome. I'm glad you guys have joined. Now, I'm going to be sharing today from a script because I don't want to miss anything, which means I'm not going to be able to see who comes on live. So, do me a favor if you come on live, just unmute, let me know you're there so that I can welcome you, say hello, maybe ask some questions. But these are important topics that we talk about. The 180-degree lifestyle is about it's about change, and we want to change. A lot of different areas in our life, but our body, our mind, and our spirit. And so I want to talk to you guys a little bit today about the mindset that goes in. Really, it's a follow up of last week's coffee chat. So if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So uh, I've already asked you guys to grab your coffee to settle in for a little bit, maybe 20 minutes or so. Um, but last week we talked about the simple power, a powerful principle of garbage in, garbage out, gold in, gold out. If you remember that, in other words, what we feed our minds eventually shapes how we think and how we act, and ultimately the direction of our lives. But today, I want to go a step deeper, and I want to ask a slightly different question. What are you training your mind to notice? And our mind can be trained. Now, most people never think about that, but our brains are constantly being trained to look at certain things. And the interesting part is this: that your brain will start noticing whatever you repeatedly focus on. Now, let me give you an example. Have you ever noticed that when you buy a car, suddenly you start seeing that same car everywhere? Before you bought it, you probably never noticed it. But once it's in your mind, suddenly it seems that, well, they're all over the road. They're everywhere you look. Now, the number of those cars didn't suddenly increase overnight. What changed was your awareness of them. Your brain began to filter information differently. Your mind started noticing something that it had been ignoring before. And the same thing happens in our mindset. Now, I remember very clearly when I bought the truck that I have now. I bought a Ford F-150, a platinum edition car. It's in a beautiful white color, uh, and I started noticing. In just a short period of time, from my home to my church office, how many white F-150s there are, where I'd never really noticed them before. And even in parking lots, there might be one parked close to me, and I'll come out of the gym, or I'll come out of church, or I'll come out of our real estate office and walk to the wrong vehicle because I see this white F-150, and maybe even has the same type of tonneau cover that I have. And this just happened the other day at the gym. I come out, and I start to get in the wrong car. I got my hand on the handle, and as I'm starting to pull on the handle, I noticed the interior The interior is the same, but I keep a hat in my dashboard, and I have a certain coffee cup in there, and I notice, well, something's different. Now, this happened many years ago too, when I drove a small car. This was in the 80s, and I went out the parking lot at the mall. There was a similar car to me, and this is a scary part of this story, is there's a similar car, and I walked up to it. I opened the door. I got in, put my key in the ignition, turned the ignition, started to back up. And as I put my arm over the deal to look in the back, I suddenly noticed, hey, this car has seat covers, those bamboo roller beads. This, I, I don't have those. And I suddenly panicked and stopped and pulled forward and noticed I don't know how my key started that car, but it did. And I got out and, found my own car. But it's a common thing. We don't pay attention to things, if it's not on our mind. So what changed is the awareness, and your brain begins to filter differently, and you start noticing something that you've been ignoring. If someone constantly focus on problems, here's the mindset part, their brain becomes very good at noticing problems. If someone focuses on opportunity, their brain begins to notice opportunity. If someone focus on what's wrong with their life, they will find plenty of evidence to support that belief. And if someone begins focusing on growth and possibility and faith, they start noticing those things too. The other night, I was involved in a class that somebody else was teaching at my church. A friend of mine was teaching on prayer, and at the end of the class, he asked if there was anything I wanted to share with the group. And I did. And I talked about the power of the spoken word and some things, but to pay attention to the words that are coming out of our mouth, because a lot of people, when they pray, what they're really doing is complaining about their situation. Lord, help me out of this. Or this is, we live in I've got one friend that always says, we live in a dark, troubling world right? Well, if that's what your brain focuses on, like the negative news, then you're going to kind of have a negative disposition. Whereas if you, especially when it comes to prayer, if you pray with thanksgiving, if you pray with expectation, if you pray with gratitude, then your life will tend to be full of gratitude as well. If you see God as benevolent and good and wise and full of grace and full of mercy, then that's how you look at life too. If you look at God as absent, uncaring, doesn't answer prayer, all these other things, your brain will start to create evidence for that. I hope you understand that. Now, one of the biggest discoveries that I've made in my life is that your life often moves in the direction of the things that you pay attention to. If you pay attention to every negative thing happening around you, then life begins to feel overwhelming. If you pay attention to growth and opportunities, life starts to feel more hopeful. And this isn't just positive thinking. There's a spiritual dimension to this as well. And scripture talks about this idea of renewing our mind. In Romans 2 or 12, Romans 12:2, the apostle Paul talks about that very thing. And well, it says, let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Or if you're a King James or NIV person, it says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. The word also tells us, the old is gone, the new has come. Well, the old's not going to go unless you transform your thinking, if you transform your belief system. Now, think about that for a moment. Transformation often begins with how we think and what we focus on. If you just think about your problems, that's all you're ever going to see. And I've worked with many people over the years that that's all they can see is the problems. All they can see is the hurdles. All they can see are the reasons why they can't. And then you can fill in the blank after that. You know, they can't rebuild their marriage, or they can't succeed in business, or they can't lose weight, or they can't feel connected, whatever it is. But they have this belief system and this habit that they've built up that is keeping them from the possibilities. But when you begin intentionally feeding your mind better things, better books, better conversations, better perspectives, something interesting starts to happen. Right? So my mind began noticing different possibilities as I'm growing up. Solutions starts to appear when you where you used to only see problems. And over time, those small changes in your mindset begin to create big changes in your direction. Now, this is only one of the reasons I believe that community matters so much, because the people around us also influence what we notice. Now, I'll be honest with you now, in just getting ready to have this conversation with you guys, yesterday was a tough day. Uh, it's been a tough week. We got some financial news that is it's difficult, and we wonder, okay, how are we going to overcome this? How are we going to take care of this? What are our options? And your mind starts to think of all the negative repercussions or all the negative possibilities that could happen. And I literally had to just stop and lean in to what I know to be true about my faith, what I know to be true about our mindset set, that if I continue to focus on this, man, just life's going to be miserable. And I shared this with some friends of mine. I shared this with my wife, because I know me. I know that when I become overwhelmed, my body will shut down. I'm just like, I'm done. I'm through. I don't want to deal with this. I can't handle this. This is too much for me. And the truth is, it is too much for me, but it's not too much for him. And so I have to focus on who I am, whose I am, what the promises are, who I'm called to be, all the things, because life is full of uncertainty. There are going to be challenges. There's going to be challenges in your personal life from time to time, and it might be health, it might be finances, it could be anything. There could be challenges in your organization. I spent some time with the church that I pastor, with the books, with looking at the finances, and just going, I don't know how we're going to do this. I Outside of a miracle, outside of people stepping up, outside of some other things, this just we can't survive doing the things that we've been doing, or the things that we desire to be. But I know the mindset, I know the faith, I know all those things that can pull us out of that funk, right? Because God's not surprised by any of this. And to continue on with the faith perspective, the idea shows up throughout Scripture. The Bible continually points us toward focusing on the right things. And in Philippians, it says, "Fix your thoughts on what is true, what is honorable, what is right, what is pure, what is lovely, what is admirable." To think about these things. Now, what's really happening is there's a description of how to train your mind to notice better things, not ignoring reality, but choosing to focus on what builds faith, what builds hope, and what builds wisdom, because what we focus on eventually shapes what we believe, and what we believe shapes how we live. Now, I'm going to pause for just a second just to see if anybody has joined us that I can chat with, but I know that it's early, and I know I've already had some conversations with some people that can't be here today because of work, and some that are out of town visiting family, and I love that. But just checking to see if there's someone we can have an actual conversation with. So, this is actually one of the foundational ideas behind the 180-degree lifestyle. A 180-degree change rarely begins with just one giant decision. Most of the time, it begins with small shifts in our attention. We start to notice things differently, start to ask better questions, start feeding our minds better input. Little by little, step by step, our direction begins to change. And that's how transformation usually happens. It's not overnight, but over time through better choices. Now I get the image in my head of a giant ship, and there was a period of my time when I worked in Alaska on the big fishing vessels and stuff, and this is what I know about these ships. They don't turn on a dime. It's a slow turn. If you want to change directions, if you got to turn around, you can't just turn the wheel and the boat turns around. It doesn't happen that way. It's actually just a series of small degrees that turn the ship around, and our lives are no different than that. Oftentimes, if we really want to make a 180-degree turn, it's not going to happen instantly. Your mindset can change quickly, but the effects of that decision might take a while. You can decide to turn the boat around, and you can start doing things to turn the boat around, but it's still going to take some time. It doesn't happen overnight. It just happens by the choices that you make. So here's the question that I want to pose to everyone today. What are you training your mind to notice right now? Because the answer to that question may be quietly shaping the direction of your life. Maybe this week the goal isn't to change everything. I hope it's not to change everything all at once. You'll explode in your brain. But maybe the goal is simply to start paying attention to what you're paying attention to. Did you get that? Pay attention to what you're paying attention to. That small awareness can begin to shift things in a powerful way. Now, some of you guys know that I've spent many, many years counseling people, different aspects of their life, and one of them is in marriages and having conversations of them or with them. And you start to notice all the things that they're bringing up, right? And it might be, well, he's always doing this, or he never does that, or she does this, or she says that. And we start nitpicking on these small things, these small irritants. And it could start with he never puts the cap on the toothpaste, or he never puts the seat down. I mean, really, is that destroying your marriage? Or have you started focusing all the things that irritate you, all the little things that are annoyances that you the preferences that you wish were different? And you stop thinking about all the wonderful things you love about this person. Now, at the end of sessions that I spend with people, I tell them, I say, I want you to take a piece of paper and I want you each separately, I want you to write down all the things that you absolutely love and adore about this person, why you got married in the first place. Now, there is one thing I put on there. I said none of those answers can be body parts because gravity happens. We get older, things change, but the character qualities, the things that endeared you to that person. And they would do that, and then on the next session, they would come in thinking that they're going to have to give this to the other person, and I tell them, I said, "I don't want you to give it to the other person. What I want you to do is I want you to keep it. I want you to read it often. I want you to remind yourself why you fell in love with this person in the first place. I want you to focus on the positive rather than focusing on the negative. And that's how we start each session. So, if you can, well, before we get to that, I just want to thank you guys for hanging out today. It means a lot to me. I really enjoy these conversations because they remind us how growth often starts and simple shifts in our perspective. It also reminds us how we begin that slow decline when our focus starts to to be on what's not working or what we wish was happening and it's not going fast enough, or especially in the lives of people that join the school community. A lot of us are entrepreneurs, business people, and we want things, and we want everybody wants it. We want it, and we want it now. We have become a society that wants instant results. It's like going through the drive-through. We want to go up and tell our, and I use this analogy because both McDonald's and Jack in the Box, have a clown picture, an image, a mascot. And so I say, you want to go up and you want to speak into the clown's mouth, take it, give the order, and then you want to drive to the window, get your Happy Meal or get your bonus pack, whatever it is you want to get. You want to get it and you want to go. We want a fast food type of life. We just want to place our order, get our order, and move on. And the reality goes, especially in food, I love talking about food. If you really want something that's good, nutritious, it takes time. It takes time to prepare a good meal. It takes time to build flavors and profiles and to really have a meal that you can sit down and enjoy. And if we want to build a life that we can enjoy, if we want to build a life that is satisfying, it takes time. There's no instant fix. There's no get rich quick schemes. There's no instant drop 100 pounds. There, it's not instant. It takes time. So that's why I enjoy so much talking to people about 180-degree living and what it actually takes to accomplish all of that. Just remember that if you're feeding your mind gold instead of garbage over time, your thinking, your choices, and your lives begin to move into a better direction. I want you guys to have a great day. I look forward to hearing from your thoughts within the community. So please comment in the comment section, kind of what you love best about today, maybe what you're working on. I'm going to post a poll later on about how we train our mind, or what have you noticed? Um, have you been paying attention to problems and stress, or opportunities and solutions, personal growth and learning, or faith and gratitude? And understand there's not going to be any really wrong answers. The goal is simply to be aware of what it is that we are aware of. Be aware of what we're focusing on. And sometimes the first step toward the 180-degree change is just recognizing where our attention has been going. Anyway, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. I hope to speak to you again really soon. Have a blessed day.